was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. And I was breathing but not alive. Out of failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Saved my soul. Oh, and now your freedom is all I know. Oh, the old me knew Jesus when I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. We're gonna sing these words. Sing, I needed a rescue. My sin was heavy. Here we go. I needed rescue. My sin was heavy. But chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter. I was an orphan. Now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Your love is the you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. Oh, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave, oh, out of the darkness, glorious day. Yeah.
What's up, Crosswinds? Welcome to our service. I am Chris. I'm the senior pastor here at the church, and we're excited you're joining us today and watching this online. I never, or very rarely, get to do these host slots. They don't often let me start to give out details to the church about things that are coming up, but because Andrea is teaching today, they thought they'd give me a chance. So here goes. A couple of things we want to make sure you absolutely know about. One of them is our Good Friday pilgrimage that is coming up on April 2nd, Good Friday. We're doing something out here on all of this land that I am so excited about. Is there a timer on this, or can I just go forever? Because I could talk about this all day. I recorded a 30-minute podcast with Jody about this, so by all means, if you really want to know a ton more about the Good Friday thing, listen to it. But what I'll tell you right now is that we are going to give you a chance to have what I think is just kind of a sacred, contemplative experience as you do what is essentially like a Stations of the Cross as you walk around our campus. Our team has been doing a lot to get this place ready, kind of like they did for the Christmas Bethlehem walk, but this will be very different. Less extravagant, but very meaningful, and I hope you'd think about joining us. We actually have an audio tour for you to listen to as you go through that. There's so much information to share. I won't be able to do it all here, but I will say I am as excited about this Good Friday thing as anything I've been excited about in a long time. I hope you'll join us. The times, it starts at 9 a.m. and I think it goes to 6 p.m. Is that right, Chelsea? 6 p.m. on Good Friday. You could start the Stations experience, the pilgrimage, as late as 6. It is going to be something that might take you around an hour, so plan for that. It does require a good amount of walking on the campus on some uneven terrain, so unfortunately this experience is going to be for somebody who feels really mobile and comfortable getting out in that. I would wear like your tennis shoes or hiking boots or something like that. If for some reason you aren't able to walk in that fashion, we'll have something here for you that you can be a part of on Good Friday as well. You don't need reservations. You just stop by anytime between 9 and 6, and we will send you out equipped to go. But what you do need is a smartphone, and you need earbuds or earphones or headphones or whatever the kids are calling them these days. You need those to be able to hear the audio tour that takes you around. And this tour, it's not only actors' voices, but it's music and it's sounds. I just think you're going to have a really profound experience. So please join us Good Friday. The next thing I need to tell you about is Easter Sunday, April 4th. We are going to be doing online services like the one you're watching right now. This is the main place that we are trying to do these services now online, because we know so many of you need to be staying at home. And you'll see an uploaded Easter service kind of on steroids like you did last Easter. And you'll see that as you're seeing this one. However, we'd love to invite some of you back to campus, as many of you as would want to come. 9 a.m., we're doing an outdoor gathering on Easter. In fact, I'm calling it a sunrise Easter service, because at Crosswinds, 9 a.m. is sunrise to us. And we're going to be doing that out here in this space I'm standing right now. Actually, we've kind of cleared this area that we are calling the amphitheater. Look at this. We got this flatbed truck from the guy across the freeway, his farm. He lent it to us. We're using it as a stage. Got a little flatbed trailer before that to be another part of the stage. And we've actually been experimenting with it last Sunday and today, the day you're watching this, this Sunday, where we're seeing how we can get this ready for Easter, working out the kinks. So if you've been excited to come back on campus but just haven't had a chance to do that yet, maybe Easter's the time for you to do it. We're going to have a great outdoor service. Normally they're at 10 a.m. This one is at 9 a.m. because it's Easter, and we thought sunrise, 9 a.m. All right. The other thing I'll say about that, we're starting kids ministry on that day. We've been piloting kind of an outdoor kids ministry that we are calling Sunday Camp. We're piloting it last Sunday and today, the day you're watching this, if you're watching this on a Sunday. We're working out the kinks on that as well, so that we can really relaunch a kids experience for kindergarten through 5th grade called Sunday Camp. And rather than me telling you about that, I want Zach, our family pastor, and Simone Brown, who's our new children's creative director, to tell you all about what Sunday Camp is going to be. Take it away, guys.
Hey, Crosswinds family. I am so glad that you're joining us this morning. My name is Zach. I am our family ministries pastor here at Crosswinds, and I get the distinct pleasure of introducing Simone Brown, our new creative director for kids ministry. Now, I know that's a lot of syllables, but she's totally worth it. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Zach. I am so stoked to be here and honestly honored to be a part of Crosswinds community. It was so cool to meet some of you guys, and this last Sunday we actually had our first Sunday camp, And I loved being able to just go around and getting to know everybody. And one of my favorite moments was being able to go up to some of the small groups and hearing their stories and what they learned about the Bible. And they actually wanted more time to spend talking to their leaders about that. So it was really an amazing moment for me.
Yep. You know, and that's one of the cool parts about the Sunday camp is that is offering us an opportunity to have fun and just play some awesome games, but also dive into what God might be teaching us and teaching our kids. In fact, Simone, what are we jumping into next as we look to start Easter, our new Sunday camp experience?
Yeah, so this Easter, we are starting our new series called Reconnect, where we are talking about how to reconnect with others and with God. And it's just going to give us an opportunity to dive deeper into the Bible. And we actually want to invite you and your family to sign up online so that you can get a spot and see us this Easter.
Easter Sunday. And, you know, we hope that you can join us. And one of the cool parts about this is that our kids program offers them an experience where they can connect with God and with each other, and gives you the freedom to go to service and also find time to worship God. Also, parents with smaller kids, we know you're out there. We cannot wait to bring you back. We are working slowly to make sure that we can do that in a safe and wonderful way. So keep an ear out on our next stage of opening up. And from us at the Kidsman team, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Good job. All right, 2 more things I want to tell you about. If you are looking to get connected here at Crosswinds, which I know sounds like such a weird thing right now. Is anyone connecting with anyone the way they used to? No, they're not, but maybe you need to. We still have small groups here. And small groups is the way that we make this very large church a home for you. It's a place for you to get to know other people in your life stage, and we'd love to connect you into those. If you are interested in getting in a small group, I want to tell you a couple things you can do. One is that you can email groups@crosswindschurch.org and let them know who you are, and somebody will get a hold of you and find out a little bit more about you. If you come out here on a Sunday to one of our outdoor gatherings, you can grab any one of our pastors and just say, who do I talk to about getting into a small group? And we will help put you with some people that will be able to help get you on that road. I'm telling you, church isn't church until you get into a small group of some sort. Some of our groups are meeting on Zoom right now. Some of our groups are meeting in the courtyard. As things begin to open up, we're finding ways for groups to get together again. And so if that's the case for you, we'd love to help you do that. Then the last thing I want to talk to you about is giving. We're so grateful for your faithfulness at Crosswinds, the way that you have been giving in the midst of this pandemic, the fact that we are still here in a year where lots and lots of nonprofits and businesses have shut down. It's because of your faithfulness. And at the same time, I just want to encourage you and ask you to continue to remember Crosswinds in your giving. Remember your faithfulness to God in your giving. It allows us to do what we do. And I'll say this, it's a way that we give back to God for Him giving so much to us. And so I thank you for that. The way we'll let you know to give, you can go to our website, and there's drop downs on there about how to give online. If you're in person, you're welcome to give here when we meet, although we don't pass a basket anymore. That's not COVID safe. We just have a basket at the back of the auditorium, which is this field. So, all right, Andrea is going to be speaking today. I'm so excited for her to close out this series as she talks about 3 very important words Jesus says on the cross. Take it away, Andrea.
Well, about 5 or 6 years ago, we got a new dining table, and this was very exciting because it was the first new table set that we had bought, like maybe ever. Before that, everything was used on Craigslist, so this was a big deal. I mean, everything matched. There was a bench. There even was a leaf hidden inside the table that would fold out like a transformer. It was amazing. But it wasn't long before we discovered a problem. The finish gets ruined in like 2 seconds. See, someone left a glass of ice water sitting on the table overnight, and so the next day, inevitably, there was the water ring on the table. Ugh. This is why we can't have nice things. But then we remembered, hey, we bought a warranty on this thing. So we submitted our claim, and they send a guy out to fix it, and the guy says to me, I can't repair this because the finish is a veneer. It's like a photograph that they take to make it look a certain way, make the wood look, shabby chic or whatever, and then they lay it over the wood. And the guy actually says to me, think of it like an oil painting. You wouldn't put a glass of water on an oil painting. And I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't play bunco on an oil painting either, which is why I bought a table. So he says, I can't fix it. You have to get a whole new table. So we used our warranty. The company replaced it. Okay, new table, take 2. Got a water ring in like 2 days. So we tried to accommodate and just be more careful. We would always use placemats. If we had a glass of water, we'd use a coaster, which is just weird. I mean, on a table that's made for dishes, not to be able to put a glass on it. The worst scar that it got was one Halloween. We have this decoration that we usually put on the table, which is a ceramic haunted house. And underneath it, we put this black felt mat that has cut out spider shapes all over it. Well, someone, I won't say who, spilled water. And to someone's credit, they wiped it up immediately, but what they didn't realize was that the felt mat just absorbed a bunch of water, and it just sat there on the table, soaking wet all day. And this left a giant watermark in the shape of a bunch of spiders, which is not really the look I'm going for. So we bit the bullet and got a whole different table that doesn't have this fake, temporary, easily messed up finish that does not hold up. And it sounds dumb, but I have this weird confidence, almost like a peace about this table, that it's gonna last. See, the quality of the finish matters. In furniture, yes, but in the significant things of life. I mean, how well something finishes matters. How thoroughly an act is completed, how genuine the work is, it makes all the difference. There are a lot of fake finishes in our world, and we've gotten used to them. But there is one very important finish that's not temporary, but we might be treating it like it is. And I think as we talk today, you might see some ways where you're accommodating, like I did with my table, where you're making adjustments because you're not really convinced that this finish holds up. Getting real specific, we're gonna look at 3 words Jesus said from the cross, the words, "It is finished." And we're gonna dig deep into what they meant and what that might reveal about how we view what he did for us on the cross. We're gonna ask ourselves if we're treating Jesus' finish like one that doesn't hold up. And most of us would say, no, I'm not doing that. I believe what Jesus did was enough. It was permanent, it was genuine, but you know how you can believe something is true, but still not really live like it's true? I wonder if many, if not most of us, we'd say that we fully receive what Jesus did for us, and yet our actions tell a different story. And we find ourselves making accommodations in our beliefs or our behavior that would only be necessary for someone who thinks it's too good to be true, that Jesus really paid everything for me. Accommodations come into play when we aren't fully convinced that Jesus really paid it all. And while the accommodations might feel subtle and they might even fly under the radar, the truth is when we live with those subtle shifts, we diminish the finish that Jesus did for us. So with that, holding it in our minds, let's take ourselves back to the scene, to that Good Friday, where Jesus has been betrayed, arrested, mocked, and tortured, because that's where it was finished. I want you to watch this portrayal of the last few hours before Jesus died. You'll hear some talking and even some shouting in Aramaic, which was the language that Jesus spoke. It's not very long, but it takes you in a very vivid way to the crucifixion. I want you to sit with this piece for the next few minutes.
Salam. Danesh. Hana Hayau. Le Ahudo.
Dat Marlan. Ina Natu Mashicha. Bara de Haleha.
Anea na.
Good far! Good far! Good far!
Matsi Anamindama. Dahena Desika. Eli! Lama Zaftani! Maslam.
I know that was some intense imagery and probably hard to watch in some places without cringing. But if we are going to understand what Jesus meant when he said, "It is finished," we've got to come to terms with what it cost him to do so. Because everything that he went through culminated in this moment, and without it, the resurrection could not hold the power that it does. So we've got to stay in this place a little longer, even though it's uncomfortable and messy, and it's way easier just to fast forward to Easter. But trust me when I say the celebration of the resurrection is even sweeter when we stay here and unfold these layers of what Jesus meant by "it is finished." I want to show you 3 meanings to that phrase as Jesus used it that might reveal some ways that we've been diminishing his finish. The Greek word teleo, it means to finish, teleo. And the longer word tetelestai is the whole phrase, "it is finished," tetelestai. And that phrase has 3 specific contexts that allow for 3 different nuances to the word teleo, to finish. The first use of this word for finished is when referring to something being complete. This use of the word would have been used commonly by a worker. Say, like, the work at the end of the day is done. It's saying, "I'm finished with what I had to do." Now, for a lot of us, our work seems to never be done. It's not like at the end of the day, we're like, "Everything checked off. I fully finished all the things I was supposed to do today." So maybe it's better to think of it like a project being done or a time period being over. As of today, I am 75 days away from my oldest daughter's graduation from high school. I'm not going to get into that because I am not emotionally ready yet. But graduation is an example of a clear demarcation of something being complete. Chris and I both graduated from seminary on the same day, and I remember this very strong sense of, I'm done with school. And practically it meant that I could watch TV without feeling guilty that I should be reading a textbook. Think of a time in your life where you completed something. Maybe it was graduation, maybe completing a test or certification of some sort, or moving, like the last time you closed the door on your old place, or even just completing a project at work. There's a clear line of when it is done, like D-O-N-E, done. That's the feeling of the word in this phrase, "it is finished," of teleo. So when Jesus says it is finished, it means that what he came to do is done. It's completed. He didn't leave anything undone. He did the work. And what that means for us is that there is nothing extra we need to do. We don't have to be good enough. God's not evaluating our performance to determine if we're in or we're out. And it's important that we really allow that truth to sink in, because many of us find ourselves striving to prove ourselves, to live a good life because we want to earn some sort of spiritual position, to work hard to choose good over bad because deep down we think it might make a difference in how God feels about us. Hebrews 12 echoes this truth that Jesus finished the work for us. And what I want you to notice is that the writer puts it in the context of running a race. And I think that's significant because if you've ever run a race, the whole point is to win, to be the fastest, to finish first and outperform all the other runners. But Hebrews puts it in a different light. Hebrews 12, starting partway through verse 1, it says, "Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith." Now, at first, the verse sounds like it's putting the responsibility on us to win the race, but if you look close, you'll see something really important in the way Jesus is described. He is the finisher. He already ran and won the race for you. His work counts for you. So while we are still to run and run with endurance, like the verse says, it's not the same as striving to win a race that you can never win. For us to apply Christ's work on the cross means that we have to do away with striving. And that is the first of the three ways that we might be accommodating. Striving diminishes the finish. If we're focused on being good enough, how could we ever get to a place of accepting that not only will we never be good enough, but that God's not looking for that? When you are striving for all the wrong reasons, it puts the focus on you instead of on what was done for you. There's so many places in our lives where we get graded or scored or evaluated. It's been part of our lives since our very first report card. But God's not keeping score. There's not a running cosmic tally of whether or not your good outweighs your bad. There's not a running cosmic tally of whether or not your good outweighs your bad. In fact, in Isaiah, the Bible tells us that even our good is like filthy rags. God doesn't have to keep score on you because Jesus' scorecard counts for you. When we're distracted by trying to prove our own worth, it diminishes our ability to receive what Jesus did for us. When our focus is being good because we're kind of trying to impress God or, get extra credit or something, we're preventing ourselves from recognizing the enoughness of the finished work of Jesus. So let me ask you, have you been striving? What does that striving look like for you? Does your hard work toward holiness come from a place of feeling like you have to prove yourself? The places where we strive are the very places that we have not fully received the finished work of Jesus. But if you can identify those places of striving, then you can bring them to the cross and let them go. Well, there's a second intention behind this phrase, "it is finished," and it is the idea of something being accomplished. This meaning for the word was used by the Jewish priest on what was called the Day of Atonement, and it was a yearly holiday where the high priest would make a sacrifice for all the sins of all the people of Israel. All the wrongdoing of the nation was symbolically put on this animal, and the animal was put to death as punishment for those sins. And the people would get a fresh start. Their sins would be removed. And the priest would enter the temple, make the sacrifice, and then come back out to where all the people were waiting, and he would declare in Hebrew this phrase, "It is finished." But the Bible, especially the New Testament, makes it very clear that it wasn't really finished, that this animal sacrifice was just temporary, a precursor to the real and final sacrifice, which we know was Jesus. Looking in the book of Hebrews again, the writer calls back to this holiday, and he frames it, though, in the light of Jesus. Hebrews 9, verses 11, 25, and 26 say this. But when Christ came as high priest of the good things that are now already here, he went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle that is not made with human hands. Nor did he enter heaven to offer himself again and again, the way the high priest enters the most holy place every year with blood that is not his own. But he has appeared once for all, at the culmination of the ages, to do away with sin by the sacrifice of himself. Do you see the parallels in that passage to the Day of Atonement? You have the high priest. Then was the high priest of Israel. Now it is Jesus, our high priest, the last high priest. You've got reference to the temple or the tabernacle, that parallel there. We talk about it coming from his own blood instead of an animal. And then the best part is it says once for all, not again and again every year. Jesus' death was the final sacrifice. It finished the need for this temporary cleansing of sin. This second meaning of teleo, to accomplish, it means that Jesus accomplished something that we were powerless to do. But what exactly was being accomplished? Well, it's helpful to go back to that word atonement. Remember, the annual holiday was called the Day of Atonement. In the early 1500s, when the Bible was first translated into English, the translators had trouble finding an English word that encompassed what this sacrifice was all about. In Jewish tradition, the Hebrew word that was ultimately translated atonement, it meant to cover over. The blood of the animal covered over the sins of the people. But there was no English word for this, so they came up with one. And atonement is simply at one-ment, the state of being at one. And that's what the cross accomplished. Our perfect reconciliation with God. Where before the consequence of sin, death, prevented us from living in community with God, now the consequence was put on Jesus, who ultimately overcame that consequence through the resurrection. His finished work accomplished our at one-ment with God. And so that means if you've accepted Christ, then the state of your being is union with God. And that's our reality. But we don't always live like it's true. A few weeks ago, I was running out the door, and I had to do that checklist that you do before you go out the door. Do I have my sunglasses, my phone, my mask, my keys? Where are my keys? So I spent the next few minutes looking in all the places, the drawers, the countertops, the pockets, all the places where I could possibly find my keys. No luck. But then I had an idea. Maybe they're somewhere hiding deep in a pocket in my coat or like in the bottom of my bag. And we have one of those cars that you don't have to put the key in to start it. So I thought I could just get in the car and press the button and see what happens. Sure enough, I get in the car, press the button, and what do you know? It started. I drove to work literally not knowing where my keys were, but knowing that I had them. Of course, once I got to church, I couldn't unlock any of the doors because I couldn't find my keys. But my point is, they were there all along. I had everything I needed, even when I couldn't find them. Through Christ, everything you need has been accomplished for you. You have it, whether it looks like you do or not. But how often do we live as if we don't already have full and complete reconciliation with God? So what do? We accommodate. And it comes in the form of compartmentalizing. And when we do that, we diminish Jesus' finished work. Here's what compartmentalizing looks like. We have places in our lives that feel in sync with God. Maybe our church life, maybe our relationship with our spouse, the generosity that we feel toward others. But inevitably, there are places in our lives where we feel like God's over here and this action or situation or belief or mindset is over here. And there's no at one-ment. They feel mutually exclusive. And since we can't seem to get those two things in harmony, we compartmentalize. God doesn't care about this thing over here. This isn't impacting me. This has nothing to do with my relationship with God. But if Jesus accomplished complete at one-ment, that means that every part of your life is spiritual. I'll say it again. Every part of your life is spiritual. How you spend your time is spiritual. What you think about affects you spiritually. What comes out of your mouth? What goes into your mouth? Your fears, your doubts, your compulsions, your habits. Life with God means that God is interwoven into every area of our life. It means that he can speak to us through it, that he can bring healing or change. He can show us his love through something as unspiritual as a giant plate of nachos. Are there segments of your life that are, well, segmented? Is this an accommodation that you've made because at the heart of it, you're not valuing the power of Jesus' sacrifice as something that can align your entire life with God? If you can name these places, then have a conversation with God about how to live into the it is finishedness in these areas. Okay, last, not least, a third meaning of teleo, to finish, is to pay a debt. And this was actually the most common use of this word. Something was owed and the debt was paid. Think about it like when you get an invoice and you get a paid stamp on it to prove that you've paid. It is the finality of what you owed being taken down to zero. Hebrews 10 says this, "But after he stepped up to offer his single sacrifice for sins for all time, he sat down in the position of honor at the right hand of God." When there is forgiveness such as this, there is no longer any need to make an offering for sin. No longer any need. Our debt was the death that we should experience, and he paid it for us. The third way that we diminish Jesus' finish is by punishing ourselves. Punishing diminishes the finish. Some of us believe in forgiveness and have accepted that we're forgiven, but we're still in this habit of punishing ourselves. You might be someone who blew up your marriage, and you know God has forgiven you, but you still punish yourself. Maybe you've hurt your family through addiction or being a workaholic or misusing your finances, whatever, and you've made it right and you've been forgiven, but you can't let go of those feelings of shame or guilt. That's punishing yourself. Wherever you have failed might be a place you're still beating yourself up instead of living in the freedom and the new life of your debt being paid in full. My first full-time job was at a college. I was the executive assistant to the vice president of finance, and he decided that he wanted to have this big dinner as a thank you for all of his direct reports, and as his assistant, I had to organize it. And knowing that I'd get reimbursed, I just decided to pay the bill on my personal credit card. So I get the bill, and it was huge. I mean, this was a fancy dinner and drinks for like 12 people, and my 26-year-old eyes were like the tip alone was bigger than my paycheck. And my boss paid my credit card bill with his budget, but here's the thing. That card was a mileage card. So Chris and I got thousands of free miles to use. It's a great analogy for the finish that means that a debt is paid. It was my bill, but someone else paid it. And not only that, but I got to enjoy the benefits of that payment. Jesus didn't say it is finished, so you would keep punishing yourself for the very things that took him to the cross. In fact, he paid the bill and invites you to live in the joy and the wholeness of a forgiven life. And can we just sit here for a minute in the bottomless grace of God? Our sin debt that Jesus paid was ours alone. Unlike my credit card bill that the college owed me money for, Jesus did not owe us a single thing. He had no debt, and he still took mine on and took yours on. And he not only took it, but he finished it. Today is Palm Sunday. That was the day that Jesus entered into Jerusalem with the intention of finishing our problem with sin. You might be someone who's been a churchgoer for a long time, been following Jesus for a while now, but is still trying to add to what he did for you because you know the finish matters. But if you spend your time trying to add to what's already been done for you, you're going to miss what God wants to build on top of that finish. As you consider that this week, ask God to reveal the ways that you have been diminishing his sacrifice. Are you striving when the work has already been done? Are you compartmentalizing because you believe that your reconciliation to God has limits? Are you punishing yourself because it feels better than simply receiving his gift? We're going to close with a worship song that declares the goodness of God, the King who will never let us down. As you sing, think about your response to what has already been finished for you.
The King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from, oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life, oh, he is my song. You are good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh. Let the King of my heart be the wind to set my sails, the anchor in the waves, oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire beside my veins, the echo of my days, oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the wind
God, I want that to be what I put my confidence in, what I put my trust in, God. That you're a faithful God who keeps your promises, God. That in difficult seasons and circumstances, Lord, that I can read your words and let my heart draw close to who you are, God. And you say that you're a faithful friend, God. Lord, you're my anchor in the waves, God. And it's moments like these, it's seasons like these where I see this the most, God, that you are my anchor, Lord, and I thank you for that. God, as we go throughout this week, Lord, may you remind us daily of who you are, that you love us, that you're faithful, that you keep your promises, God. I'm so grateful for that, God. We love you, Lord. And everyone said, amen.